Hi, greetings. We continue our discussion on communication. Now we present before you the topic Communication Bridging the Gap, prepared by Colonel Dr. Yashwant Joshi, Vice President, Advocacy and Awareness, National Association of Palliative Care for Ayush and Integrative Medicine. What is communication skill? In this lecture, we deal with the term communication, explaining it, the types and process of communication, barriers in communication, and essentials of good speech. So, this is the diagram of a junction where four vehicles are coming. What if communication were not possible? You can just imagine what would be the result, isn't it? Frustration and chaos, likely to be accidents, and human lives will be at chaos. So, this is the result. Another diagram. Both children want the orange, but without good listening, neither gets what they want. So, it can be given after cutting it and given it, or each share to each student, each kid. So, there are many ways of having good communication which will have positive results. What is the importance of communication? Vital aspect of one's personality, a powerful tool to express the thoughts, commercial advantages, relationship nourishment, managing anger, frustration, social advantages, helps in team building process, health management. These are the importance of communication in general. Communication is a Latin word which means to share or to establish commonness. It is a sharing of information between different individuals. It includes the sharing of ideas, concepts, imagination, behaviors, and written content. Communication is simply defined as the transfer of information from one place to another. Although this is a simple definition, when we think about how we may communicate, the subject becomes a lot more complex. Communication is the ability to share information with people and to understand what information and feelings are being conveyed by others. The act of communication draws on several interpersonal and intrapersonal skills. These include speaking, listening, observing, questioning, processing, analyzing, and evaluating. Such skills are essential to learning, forming healthy relationships, creating a sense of community, and achieving success in the workplace. Expression means the putting into symbols like words, vocal qualities, physical action, music, painting, etc., what we consider to be reasonably accurate representation of our inmost personal values, conviction, or reactions to a situation. Communication means the simulation in the minds of others of essentially your own awareness, understanding, and sense of importance of the event, feeling, fact, opinion, or situation you are attempting to depict. Communication and expression are as different forms and also as closely related to one another as are the economic process of production and consumption. Communication and expression. What you might say and how you might say if you hit your thumb with a hammer while hanging a picture, when you are alone, when guests are present, when friends are present, when fiancé is present. So, this is a role play. Expression is a relationship between yourself and the subject matter. Communication has a threefold relationship linking the subject matter, your own understanding or purpose in relation to it, the nature of listeners. So, this is the diagrammatic representation of the types of communication. Communication has broadly been divided into verbal and non-verbal communication, and the verbal communication is written and oral, and non-verbal communication is body language. The 4 communication skills. When you try to speak or convey a particular thing, before that you have to have something else, that we call thinking. Thinking is also a process in the process of communication. Thinking, then speaking, then the other person listening, and even though he is listening, the person who is speaking will give non-verbal communication with the help of his body, what we call the body language. So, all these processes come together and make it a good communication. In the verbal communication process, we say that this is after a serious study on the effect of communication. The tone of the voice gives 38% effect on verbal communication. The verbal communication with the words gives you 7% of the effect, but in the visual or the body language it gives 55% of the effect in good communication mix. Non-verbal communication, body language. A simple rule of thumb is that simplicity, directness and warmth and sincerity is key to effective communication. Here we see a nurse touching the hands of the patient. So, when we look at it from as a point of view from an outsider, you may not be able to understand any, but when you are in the place of that particular patient, you will understand the effect that this type of touch gives you when you are in a state of distress. So, as I earlier mentioned, smile is the best gesture that matters. So, whatever you want to convey, before that put in a smile on your face and then say. People will accept it, people will understand it, people will follow you as your leader. So, this is something connected with the process of communication. Like any act of human endeavor, there is a process. Here communication process, actually it is a sevenfold process. Now, it is given as fivefold. The center, there should be a sender, he encodes it. So, there should be a sender and he encodes, and there should be a medium, whether it is vocal or written, language is a medium, whether it is spoken in English or in any other local languages, that is a medium, and the receiver receives it and he understands it, that he is decoding it. So, apart from that, as and when the receiver receives and decodes it, then he is supposed to do an action on the basis of the message received from the sender. So, that is the feedback, and it has to be given back to the sender what action he has done, because when I say it is 10 o'clock, you will have to go to the post office, that is my message. My medium is English, and the receiver, the peon, goes to the post office. Peon receives the message, he decodes it and he goes to the post office, that is action. Then he comes back and conveys a message to the sender that I have already gone to the post office and took the what do you call tabals or the post from the post office. So, this is a process. The process of communication involves certain you see there should be a center, there should be a message, what we call intelligence, there should be an intelligence, there should be medium, and there should be a receiver, and there should be an decoding of the message that has been received, that it should be followed by an action, and the after taking an action the receiver has to send back the feedback to the sender that such a thing has happened. So, this is a 7 process in communication, but here it is mentioned only. Now, what are the barriers to communication? Barriers like anything else, a table may be a barrier, a chair may be a barrier, a person who is standing in between the patient and the the communicator may be a barrier, the sound of the radio is a barrier. So, many things can be a barrier. So, you remove all the barriers, whether it is physical or otherwise. So, physical or mechanical barriers, like I told you earlier, the table may be a barrier, a chair may be a barrier, a person who is standing in between may be a barrier, a sound that is coming from the radio is a barrier. So, a crowd may be a barrier, you may not be able to convey the message that you would like to convey to the patient or vice versa. Language is a barrier, as I told you earlier, I am coming from the south, I do not know Hindi. So, naturally when a patient who knows Hindi only, he or she speaks on Hindi only, which I may not be able to digest. So, there is a language barrier. I may need the help of some of my colleagues or those who are around me who knows both English or other languages and Hindi, so that he may be able to interpret in the way. So, psychological barriers. So, mentally the patient should be in a position to convey a message. Suppose if he has a deep pain in his body, naturally he may not be able to be as familiar or at ease to convey a particular message to the visitor, because of this psychological barrier, maybe a deep pain in the body, or the parting of a loved one, or many other things, financial complications, problems that he is confronting. So, a lot of things are there. We can be we can include all these things under the head psychological barriers. Basic communication skills. What we generally ask a volunteer who is undergoing a training, that you be a good listener. You may not be able to help the patient in whatever manner the patient wants you to do, but you can be a good listener. Be a good speaker, that also is needed. See, a person who is sitting close by the patient is sitting all the while dumb, mum, not speaking anything. The patient will not be able to understand your mindset, what you are there to convey to the patient, whether he wants to sit the whole day, the whole month or so, he is not aware of it. So, be a good speaker. Confirm your understanding, that is also important. Get more information for response. Use questions effectively. Only ask the particular question. Do not beat about the bush. You will not get an answer from the patient. The patient will be in a confused stage, mental stature, and he may not be able to give an answer. Even ordinary person may not be able to answer when you are asking a lot of questions intermittently. Confirm a body language. So, ensure, as you see, as is seen in the diagram, ensure a good body language. You keep your hands close to the, or you touch the patient's hands. It gives a very good effect from my own personal experience. So, question style. Asking questions shows you are interested. So, ask questions to build up interest in the patient, or to give an impression in the patient that you are really interested to ask questions and get answers, to get things done for him. There are many types of questions you can ask, many types. As classification of communication, we say there are many types in the style of communication. Always we advocate open questions. Open questions is that start with when you got this disease, where is the close relatives, where are the close relatives, whether they are with you or staying at a distance, who is taking care of you, who is taking you to the hospital, who is doing all the financial support for you, like that. So, which is the area that troubles you most, which is the area of the body that troubles you. So, how much is the the strength of the disease, the strength of the pain that you are undergoing. So, how many days, how often you have these problems. So, like that you can ask an open question, so that you will be able to get correct answers from the patient. There is another category, that is closed questions, that starts with did you do that, do you know him. So, it will give only a yes or no answer. Do you know him? No. Would you like to have a cup of tea? No. Will you stand? Yes. So, these are yes no answers. So, what we call it closed answers. This is not advocated in the effective communication skills. So, leading questions, in another positive this thing is questions that are specific, can give yes or no answers, leading questions. Judgmental, we judge the patient has a particular disease, has pain in a particular part of the body, etc. So, we say that you have a pain in your particular body, maybe on the stomach, in the head, or in the heart, or in the lungs, whatever may be. So, you have a judgmental communication, what call it. So, generally classification of asking questions are broadly divided into 4: open questions, closed questions, leading questions, and judgmental questions, out of which the most effective communication process can be done with open questions. Essentials of good speech: know yourself, be yourself, forget ego, reach out to others, use body gestures. These are the essentials of good speech. Know yourself. You must be fully aware what are your strengths and weaknesses, what are your opportunities and challenges. You should be aware of all these factors. Forget ego. Don't think that I am a master of in palliative care, I know everything under the sun in palliative care. Don't judge yourself by that, because knowledge is like an ocean. You can have only a slice of it. Anybody can have a slice of it. So, forget about ego. Reach out to others. So, you must build up a heart. Everybody has a heart. To build up a heart is a different terminology that is being used in palliative care. You build up a heart. You build up a space in your heart for the others. Be compassionate. Keep the other fellow in your heart. So, reach out to others. Use body gestures. As I have already explained, body gestures have a very important role in the communication process. So, train yourself for that. You will get all that is needed to be a good communicator, to be a good listener, to be a very good palliative care deliverer or professional. Thank you.